Hello everybody, this is Fernando for the latest Ghosts and Spirits Special Edition video. Well, as I have mentioned in my last video, I was going to produce one here about my visit just this past weekend to the infamous Driskill Hotel located here in downtown Austin, Texas. It was definitely one of my to-do lists because this hotel, it's one of the longest running hotels to this very day here in Austin, and it has had a set of infamous hauntings that apparently happen to this very day as well. So it was definitely someplace that I wanted to visit. You're going to see a good handful of pictures of my visit there. So let's go ahead and let's talk about the hotel itself and then also the legendary ghost stories tied to it. They're just a handful of ghost stories, but still they do stand out. So I went there this past weekend. If you don't know where it's at, just head pretty much to central Austin, Texas, and when you're there, go towards the infamous 6th Street, and then a little bit west of central Austin, Texas by 6th Street. That's where this hotel is located. This hotel has been around for a long time. In fact, it was opened sometime in the late 1800s, and it was done by a Civil War colonel by the name of Jesse Driskill, hence the name, the Driskill Hotel. And it's been used throughout all these decades and in fact centuries by very famous people. In fact, I believe it was one of the preferred hotels of our very own LBJ. So this was something involving a hotel that many guests have stayed at. Other politicians have stayed at as well. And whenever I visited, it still had a pretty good company inside. It was kind of a little bit of a shame only because I wanted to see if I could investigate things a little bit more closer, but man, there was a large crowd inside. That's because there's some pretty popular restaurants within the hotel itself, and these restaurants are frequented by people that are either our guests on lunch or visiting the hotel, not necessarily renting a room there. Instead, it's absolutely open to the public, and because it's right next to 6th Street, very popular 6th Street, that's why it also has a lot of people there. Now, just a brief note, so that way if you do plan on visiting this hotel, this is not going to shock you, but the Austin downtown is now it's pretty much now, as it has been for probably a good 2 decades or so, it's a haven for a lot of homeless people because Austin is considered a sanctuary city. So if you're ever in that area, be forewarned, you're going to have a lot, and I mean a lot, of homeless people walking around, just asking for change or just basically on every corner. So as long as you're prepared for that, then that's perfectly fine. Not that they do any harm or anything along those lines. It's just for a lot of tourists that always becomes a big surprise to them. So you're looking at some of the outside shots of the Driskill Hotel. Obviously, the outside shots showcase its grand architecture, by far some of the best looking architecture around. The car that you were just looking at, this was actually parked right outside of the hotel. It seems like it's a non-working car. It's just there just for uh, decorative purposes. It's a vintage car of some sort, but it's announcing the restaurant that's inside. And then now you're looking at some of the signs associated on the outside, including what looks to be one of the doors that showcases some of the rooms. The rooms are themed. It seems like this one is the Victorian room, and then there was another one. I think it was called like the Grand Estate. I can't remember the names per se, but those seem to be the specific titles. There's also a plaque, as you'll see here, showcasing the history of the Driskill Hotel. Interesting, again, it's considered a historic landmark, but it's a usable historic landmark. People obviously rent rooms there, or they come in for the restaurants that are heavily used. So that was quite a change considering some of my other trips to like Fort Concho and some other places that are also historical landmarks, but nowhere near as occupied as this location. Now, coming in inside, you're greeted to this, which is a beautiful interior. The ceiling immediately stood out, which is why I took a picture of it here. Very beautiful work. I don't know how long this sets. I mean, these pieces have been there probably hundreds of years, probably since inception. Who knows? But they immediately stand out. Very Great work when it comes to that. And then towards the left, it looks like there was a listing of some of the, I guess, the souvenirs or stuff associated with the Driskill Hotel that I also took a picture of. But if there was one word to describe the Driskill, just in one word only, I'd probably describe it as grand. It's definitely its own category. There's even a fantastic lobby area, which I sat down in a few minutes just to gather around and then see what's happening. It's by far one of the best looking interior lobbies I had ever seen, and it also allowed me a chance to look at some of the other information associated with the Driskill Hotel. The concierge, they were very nice gentlemen. As soon as I approached him, he immediately helped out, and then I was just mentioning that I'm here just to visit the hotel because I've heard of some of the stories associated with the hauntings. They do have a pamphlet that's ready for it, like just a page document front and back that showcases some of the reported hauntings. And so it led me to this, which is the vault. Apparently this vault is frequented by the ghost of a lady of some sort. It looks like a vault, but I mean, I wasn't able to open it or peer behind it, but it looked to me like a facsimile vault, like let's say something in terms of something you would see in a movie that's not fake but made to look real but still looks fake at the same time. That's what it seemed like to me. But apparently the way that the pamphlet was stating is that there's a ghost that likes to frequent this particular vault, especially at night. When I went, it was during the daytime, so clearly there was nothing associated there, and there was way too many people around at the same time. But this is one of the haunted locations. So if you're going there, and especially if you have to take a ghost tour, it happens to be at night, then this is one location. Now I don't know the hours per se of the Driskill, like what's allowed in terms of lobby hours there at night, so please check with the hotel. But this is one of the frequented locations, it looks like, of one of the ghosts. And then this one is considered the grand staircase. It's towards the right of the lobby whenever you walk in. This will lead you to the restaurants, which are on the second floor, and then there's a patio on the second floor as well. And then this is a picture, a drawing or portrait more likely, of Colonel Driskill himself. So I took a picture of it here, and then that way you can hear the other ghostly adventure tied to it. So the way the legend goes, and this is one of the more popular ghost hauntings, there was a 4-year-old girl by the name of Samantha Houston. She was the daughter of some U.S. senator. Well, sometime in the late 1800s, this staircase back then was there just as it is today, and she was chasing a ball of some sort, and when that happened, that ball, I guess, went down the staircase, and she tried to go after it, but unfortunately she tripped and then fell to her death right on that very same staircase that you see the picture of. I took another angle here as well of that staircase, and so because of that, there's now a portrait of this girl, of Samantha, that hangs not here, but it's actually on the 5th floor. And the way the story goes, and you're looking at a picture of it here, this is not my picture, by the way, unfortunately. I did ask, always, again, as I mentioned with another video, ask permission, see what's allowed when it comes to visiting these places. The concierge mentioned that as long as it's an open location of sorts, like a open area, a patio, a lobby of some sort, and that's pretty much just the 1st and 2nd floors, then those are the areas you can visit. But stuff like the 5th floor, which is all just hotel rooms, I didn't necessarily want to go all the way up there because that stuff is not opened. It would just be left for the guests. True, I could have just gone up, let's say, the elevator and walked around still, but at the same time I want to make sure that I'm respecting everyone else's privacy, because I can just imagine, like in my case, traveling to different hotels like I do. Imagine if tourists were on the same hotel floor that I was all the time at night. It would just be a headache because of all the noise caused. So in this case, I was not able to visit that floor, but this is a picture of it that hangs there. And the way the story goes is, if you stare at that picture, it starts to make you feel dizzy or nauseous. And then on top of that, if you stare at it long enough, then you see her expression change, like the picture becomes alive. And then one more thing related to the legend of Samantha is the idea that every now and then you can hear her giggles throughout the halls of the hotel. So I tried to pay attention to that, even though I was just on the first and second floor. If I could hear a very distinct set of, let's say, uh, children's laughter or children's giggles, but no, nothing along those lines that I could come across. So at least that's one of the other stories or hauntings associated with this tale. Here's a plaque, by the way, that showcases more information about Colonel Driskill. It's a pretty nice plaque. It was just right underneath the painting. And so if you turn a little bit towards that left and towards the other corner, then that's where you come across the very busy restaurant that I saw there. By the way, I did go to the second floor towards the right, not the left towards the restaurant, but towards the right, and it took me to another open area, which you'll see a picture of here, and it's very similar to the bottom floor. This one, of course, didn't have many people in it. In fact, I think I was the only one for a good while, so I was able to roam around more on this floor, and I started to take pictures of some of the paintings. Now, some of the other things that people report with the Driskill Hotel is these paintings. You're gonna see them throughout these next few minutes, but they seem to be like weird. Like they're always paintings of people doing things, but for whatever reason, some of them always have like somebody staring back right at you. Obviously, if it's just a 100% one person painting only, and they're staring at that you as the painting, then yes, that's true. But for like the group shots, there's always supposed to be like someone that's just looking straight at someone else. So it was interesting to come across these paintings and then see, I guess, if I could feel, see, hear anything. But no, nothing really in terms of that. It was just pretty much me taking a painting, and that was it. I did come across this thing though. I guess you could call this like a cabinet or a drawer of some sort, a vanity mirror, who knows. It definitely stood out, so I took a picture of it just to see if anything could show up as well, but no, still nothing really appeared because of that. There was even another area, which was this one here, and it showcased more, I guess, trinkets stuff linked to the Driskill Hotel, but that was another set of interesting stuff. You'll notice on the right, I believe that is Lady Bird Johnson, if I'm not mistaken, who was the wife of LBJ, so that's a portrait of her. But again, more stuff that's linked to the Driskill Hotel. But that was pretty much it. After I visited the second floor, and then I saw some of the paintings there and some of the other items related to the hotel. I went back down and then I took this picture, which remains my favorite one of all the ones taken at the Driskill. It's a nice, perfect shot showcasing everything tied to this hotel being so, as I mentioned earlier, the word grand. So very beautiful shot, very beautiful hotel, and thus that ended my brief little tour of the Driskill Hotel. So if you're keeping track, I think this is now 0 for 7. Nothing in terms of any known hauntings that I could come across, like physically or hear or anything along those lines. Nothing in terms of even being able to sense or anything. So at least it still was quite fascinating to see some good history with Austin, Texas when it comes to this hotel. Highly recommend it. Again, if you do come across downtown Austin, then please do visit this hotel, if at least for anything, just to see it, to see its grand scope and its grand beauty too. So if anyone else has visited this Driskill Hotel and knows any other tales, please post those comments below. It'd be really great to hear. One last thing too, apparently Colonel Driskill himself seems to frequent the hotel. That was one of the things that I was trying to look for. There's the idea that every now and then you can see, hear, you can smell, essentially, Colonel Driskill himself, because he was a known, apparently, purveyor of some kind of smoke, cigarette smoke, if I'm not mistaken. And so when that happens, you could also know that he's around. There's cigar smell. There's also lights that seem to, like, not necessarily like go out, but they seem to dim and then go back up, like it notes the presence of someone is there. By the way, one last thing, I couldn't visit a particular hotel room room number 525. Again, it's a hotel room. I don't want to invade anyone's privacy. I don't want to just like a creep, just walk up to that room and then just even at the outside door just start inspecting it. But this room is perhaps the most haunted one within all of the Driskill Hotel, and it has to do with two suicides that occurred. Apparently, two young women, both of them 20 years apart, both of them on their honeymoon, for whatever reason, they took their lives in the bathroom of that room. So because of it, there's the room itself is no longer, I guess, used. Someone has to correct me on this, but if that is available now, then at least people that go there still report that there's something in terms of known hauntings from these these quote-unquote suicide brides. So one last thing associated with the hauntings of the hotel. Obviously, I couldn't go again because of the privacy linked to that floor, but if anyone has any more information on that, that would be good to hear. So, well, all right, everybody. Thanks again as always. Take care.